Veterans, today we're diving into stage 5, the stage where everything changes. And we're going to be answering one critical question, and that is, why do most veterans think that stage 5 is the turning point, the make or break point in their VA claim journey? Let's get started. Now, if you're new here, my name's Lucas Simoner. I'm the CEO and founder of VetClaims.AI. I'm a Purple Heart recipient from the war in Afghanistan, OEF 12 to be specific. I'm a former paratrooper for the 82nd Airborne Division, and I'm just a regular dude building a company trying to make this system better. So if you're new here, welcome, and thanks for joining the channel. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button to join us and stay in touch. And we're gonna figure out why veterans in the VA claim process happen to Google stage 5, what stage 5 is, phrases like that, more than anything else during the VA claim process. Now, in order for stage 5 to make sense, right, we should probably add a little bit of context, right? Stage 5 obviously has a stage 4 before it and presumably has a stage 6 after it, but what are those stages? First, we have stage 1, which is the claim has been received by the VA. Typically at this point, that is when your VA profile when you log in is gonna look a little bit different. Then you're gonna have stage 2, which is the initial review. It means that the VA is looking over what you've submitted, and stage 2, in most cases, you'll never see it. It'll happen rapidly. It's like 10 minutes and they're deciding, does this make sense for us to pursue CMP claims or CMP exams, so on and so forth. Then there's number 3, which is our evidence gathering point. They're gonna pull the medical records from within the VA system. They're gonna pull prior claims. They're gonna pull everything they have around what you're claiming and your prior VA experiences. And they're gonna look into those reviews and those decisions that you've had previously as well. And if I didn't make that clear, that review of evidence is when the CMP exams are going to happen. Then in step 4, they're going to review the evidence that you've submitted, right? Then we've got stage 5, preparation for decision. This is a pretty big deal. In stage 5, we have preparation for decision, but this preparation for decision, right, it means that all evidence is in. Now, sometimes in stage 4 and stage 5, there can be pending CMP exams. So say you had 10 claims, and out of those 10, 9 of them, the CMP examiner has sent back the documentation, and so your claim is in step 5. But there could be one CMP examiner that hasn't sent their stuff in. It's why the VA's average quoted timeline doesn't make sense for most vets. If you're watching this video, it's probably because your claim's been in step 5 for more than 5 days. Or maybe it's been there just more than 24 hours and you're impatient. But regardless, one of the reasons it can commonly be held up is that the CMP examiners haven't all submitted their stuff yet. Stage 6 is pending decision approval. That means that a decision has been proposed and now it has to be approved by a higher authority. Stage 7 is the preparation for notification. It means that they're drafting that decision letter, they're making sure it's on its P's and Q's and has everything in it that it needs to have. Unfortunately, decision letters are mostly copy pasta, but it doesn't undercut how valuable a decision letter actually can be when it comes to getting insight for your future claims. We'll talk about that later on in this video. Stage 8 is completion, and you'll also never see this because by that point the claim is closed. Those are our stages, and we find ourselves today talking about stage 5. So what happens within stage 5? A rating veteran service representative, commonly called a rater, gets the file. Now, this file's on their desk. They're gonna look at the file, all the evidence attached, the CMP exams, everything that you've got for this claim. And then they're going to be using what's called 38 CFR Parts 3 and 4. That's the federal law that covers how the VA adjudicates claims. And then they're going to be using a document, or a book more so, called M21-1. And M21-1 is the procedural policy manual for adjudicating VA claims. So you got the federal law, and then you've got the internal VA policy manual. And they're going to be using these two documents to essentially crosswalk what you've got going on with how they align with their policies. What are they aiming to decide or, work through here? Ultimately, they're going to be looking at the service connection as the first piece, right? Because if it's not service connected, it's not really that relevant and it's not going to be granted as a claim. The next thing they're going to be looking at, if it is service connected, is what disability rating does it get? People think the disability rating assigned by the VA is some sort of witchcraft. I can tell you it's not. It's clear as day. Now, where veterans go wrong is they leave it up to the VA, unfortunately. And plenty of our videos talk about this very in depth, and here I'm even going to take the time to talk about it again because I just can't iterate how important this is. If you want to know what a disability that you have going on rates or should rate, you go into 38 CFR and you find the schedule of ratings. The schedule of ratings, literally per disability and diagnostic code. Each disability has a diagnostic code. There are levels, and those levels max out for each disability. For example, tinnitus, even if it's bilateral and it's proven bilateral, is not going to get a bilateral rating. It's going to get one singular rating. It's going to be 10%. No more, no less. Now you can also get a 0% for tinnitus, but that just means it's service connected but non-compensable. So the two ratings available for tinnitus are 0 and 10. And you get a 0 if you have tinnitus, but the symptoms of it aren't bad enough to warrant compensation according to the schedule ratings. Now, one of my favorite examples to use, and I'll use it here, is migraines. Migraines in the schedule ratings, they can have a 30 and a 50% rating, right? 0, 30, 50. There might be one lower rating, I'm not sure, but in general what we see is 30 and 50. Two veterans can be describing the exact same thing, right? I get migraines a few times a month, they really suck, they mess up my day, it's horrible. And that dude's gonna get a 0 or a 10 or a 30. The veteran that goes in and uses language such as, I have 2 to 3 migraines a month that are prostrating in nature, they require me to lay in a dark room, a quiet dark room until they go away. And yeah, I can take medication for them, but I'm just shot after that too. And this caused me to miss work, it's caused problems in my life. That veteran's gonna get probably a 50% rating. Now you might be asking yourself, why is that? Because the second veteran used verbiage that aligned with the schedule ratings within 38 CFR. When it comes to VetClaims.AI, that's exactly what our CMP prep team does in one-on-one meetings with the veterans who go through us. We're not telling people what to say or how to describe their ratings to get the highest possible rating. It's not that. It's the team understanding, okay, what are your symptoms like? Okay, well here's how the VA describes them. Your symptoms fall within this level of the schedule ratings for this disability, and this is how you need to describe it. I don't want to say it's that simple because, it's not all that simple, but it's also not the most complicated thing in the world, and it isn't this black box of mystery as to how the VA assigns these ratings. Now I digress. The VA does VA things. They don't always make the most sense, and sometimes they just flat out get it wrong. There's hundreds of thousands of errors that the VA admits to making every single year. Don't get it twisted. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, but as to how it should be rated, well, that's clear enough. And it's critical that you know this because you could be getting underrated and not know it. Now they're going to look at the effective date. When did you initially claim this? Is there a chain of appeals that have occurred, within 12 months of each other? And what I mean by that is if you file for something, you get denied, you appeal it within 12 months of that initial decision, that claim stays alive. And there's no cap on this, right? You could go through the appeals process 30 times and for 30 years, hypothetically, and you could still get 30 years of back pay if on the 31st shot, they finally approve it. The effective date matters because that's how they determine how much back pay to give you. If this is an initial claim, you're going to get paid back to the day of that initial filing. The only circumstance that changes that is if you file an initial claim within 12 months of getting out of the service. If you file within 12 months of getting out of service, then you'll be back paid to the day that you exited. That's the only time that'll change. Otherwise, it's just going to go to the day that you filed as your effective date. And if you're watching this, I want to take a second to say, my team at VetClaims.AI is a bunch of formerly enlisted veterans who have been expertly trained to help you walk through this and carry the load for you. If you'd like some help, or at least to talk to somebody about this, I need you to hit the link that's at the top of the video description right below here, okay? And if you're an early watcher to this video, or this is one of the first VetClaims.AI videos that you've watched, please do me a favor if you find this video helpful. All I ask of you is please hit that hype button right down below so that YouTube knows to show this to other veterans so that we can add value to as many veterans as possible. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. At this point, we've covered it's service connected, we figured out what disability rating it deserves, we figured out the effective date, and now the rater's going to be looking at what special considerations may fall into place, right? Is this something that should qualify the veteran for TDIU? Or is it something that we might think makes the veteran unemployable? Because maybe it's not a 100% rating itself, but maybe it is something that clearly is going to affect them or stop them from working, and we should consider them for TDIU. The other thing that they're going to be looking at is this an SMC? There's things like erectile dysfunction, female sexual arousal disorder, and many others that fall under SMCK. Additionally, if you already have a high rating or this happens to put you over, there's other forms of SMCs that this could qualify you for. So they essentially have to go through and run like a little deconfliction check, which I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know how often that actually happens from what we've seen, but it's the VA, so we can hope. All right, veterans, we just covered the nuts and bolts of what happens within stage 5 and where it falls within the process. But I need you to stay tuned because we are really just beginning what goes on in stage 5 and what you need to know during it. There's more details here than even I had a clue about, and we're learning this together. I promise you, we are going to answer the question, why do veterans think that stage 5 is the turning point or potential breaking point in their claim journey? So let's dig in. What veterans should know about evidence at this stage? Can you submit more evidence if you're already in stage 5? What if you forgot a document? What if you forgot a buddy letter? What if you got a new buddy letter? What if you found a picture? The anxiety, the stress, I get it. Been there, done that. Many a phone call, many a friend, many a customer at this point. But let me tell you, no new evidence. This is when your file is considered ready. It's a bit late, but if you submit new evidence, there is a chance that your entire claim packet will go back to stage 3 and they will reevaluate it. It may get assigned to a different rater. It may pop over. It may go into backlog. Who knows? I'm not telling you not to do this. I'm just telling you no one really knows what'll happen. We've seen it happen both ways where it made no difference and the VA said, wow, we already played this game. This isn't, sufficient evidence to make us review everything again. You can put it on a supplemental if you want to. We've also seen it where it does move the entire claim back. I can't even give you a percentage of how often I see this because it's just not that common. But in an ideal outcome, what the VA will do is if you submit a picture, a buddy letter, something for an individual claim, they might continue and keep all your other claims in stage 5 and move that one individual claim back to stage 3. Now that's the best possible outcome that you could get from that. But in general, no new friends, no new evidence. You're in stage 5, baby. So you need to know that there are key pieces of evidence that are locked in. And that's including your service treatment records, your VA and private medical records, your CMP exam results, nexus letters and statements in support of the claim. And within M21-1, now mind you, this isn't the law, it's the policy. And that's why there's this kind of gray area of what could happen if you submit new stuff to the claim at this point. According to the M21, if something is missing, in general, you're gonna have to wait for a decision and then hit it on the appeal or supplemental side. I can't advise for it, can't advise against it, but I have made you aware of the ups, downs, lefts, and rights of going either which direction with that. In general, if it were me, I would just wait for that decision, see what I got, and make sure that I'm building as much as I possibly can in case I don't get a favorable outcome. Now, finally, we're gonna be digging into a part of this that I know you've been waiting for me to say. And if you're thinking in your head, I want you to think right now, what's the one thing I want Luke to talk about? And if what that thing was is how long does stage 5 take? If it was, I want you to drop a comment below because that's the most common question we see. I'm not throwing shade, I get it. I mean, I get being impatient. You're waiting on these benefits that you've earned, right? And you wanna know why the VA is taking so long to make a decision that should be pretty damn simple. So I pulled these from the most up-to-date VA reports possible. It was September 29th that this report came out. Today is October 2nd that we are filming this. And so it's about as up-to-date as it gets. That being said, it is hard to read with a straight face because I happen to know I don't think it's accurate. But according to the VA, average of 7 to 14 business days is how long stage 5 takes. Yeah, that's what the VA says. So let's be optimistic. Maybe you'll fall within that average timeline. It's the first time in your life that you can be average, because otherwise you're spectacular. So complex claims, right? Multiple conditions, rare conditions, TDIU, that can make this take months. I don't know where the VA gets the 7 to 14 days thing. Maybe people are filing initial claims out there with like 1 or 2 things on them, and maybe that's the case. Or maybe there's a lot of veterans out there who are at that 80 to 90 range and they're only submitting 1 or 2 things, and thus those decisions are pretty quick. I really can't tell you, but I would say it's not reflective of our experience to see a 7 to 14 business day stage 5. There are really quick ones, but in general, this is something that takes about a month. But the VA does seem to be increasingly moving faster and faster and faster. That could have something to do with the VA rater that they just caught rubber stamping 85,000 claims. But the more complex your claim, the longer stage 5 could take. If you filed for 10 things, if you did a new claim and an appeal, so on and so forth, the more complex, just count on it taking longer. The rater's workload and the regional office backlog are also things that are greatly contributing to this, right? I will say this, the VA backlog has gone down from over 600,000 near the start of the year to just over 124,000 as of September. And I would say that's pretty reflective of what we've seen. The VA has been moving continually quicker. So it's not all bad, but sometimes the data that the federal government gives you is a little head scratching, not gonna lie. But here's what happens next. We're gonna be talking about the decision that gets written. And not just approved, denied, deferred, whatever, but what in there is actually of strategic and tactical value for you, the veteran and the claimant. So now we're gonna break this down by the subject. And I know you've probably seen a decision letter before, and if this is your initial claim, maybe you haven't, but I'm gonna give you a little heads up on what to expect and how they're gonna break this down. And it's, like I said, it's mostly copy pasta, but there's insane amounts of strategic value in there. Every decision letter you get, every denial you get on a decision letter is a key piece to help you carry forward, fill in the gap, and get the rating you deserve. If that sounds complicated, VetClaims.AI is here for you to help you through this. If that sounds like a puzzle that you're up to the challenge of solving, let's stay tuned and let's get this going. How the decision is written. Number 1, you're gonna have the issue, which is the condition claimed. 2, you're gonna have the decision associated with it. Is it granted, denied, or deferred? And we'll get into what deferred means soon because a lot of veterans get wrapped around the spokes trying to understand Well, why'd the VA defer it? Then we're going to go into reasons and bases, which is the legal and medical justifications, right? Was there exposures involved? Is the VA going to concede that you do have a disability but question the service connection part of it? So on and so forth. And then we're going to go into 4, evidence considered. And I can tell you this is the most disappointing part of the way the VA handles decision letters, because they don't write down everything, they don't list everything, they don't enumerate what they actually considered in doing this, which can be very frustrating. And sometimes they are more thorough, but in general, that one's a bit of a whoopsie, and VA should get better at it. And then finally, number 5, they're going to back their decision to the best of their ability with references to 38 CFR and the rationale that legally ties it together. But here's the thing, veterans don't realize that raters oftentimes just copy and paste from M21-1 templates. And it's one of the most ridiculous things out there, because you will see on decision letters from lazy raters, and these are the ones that are easy to win, and it's why the VA has a 70% error rate. Did you catch that? In general, the raters, when they're lazy, cause a 70% error rate in the VA. That's per the VA's own statistics. So don't get frustrated. You need to read, you need to understand, you need to go to VetClaims.AI if you want to get the rating you deserve. With these copy and pasted templates from M21-1 that the raters are going to use, they're going to do their best to justify whatever decisions that they made. Now, if you're denied, understanding how this written decision letter can be of value to you is of the utmost importance. It's typically not going to be at the first portion of the VA decision letter. It's going to be down below where they relist all the disabilities. For some reason, they put the decisions at a very abridged level at the highest point, right? Approved for, denied for, blah, blah, blah. But then they put the rationale way further back in the document. A lot of veterans only look at this first page and they say, this doesn't tell me anything. What the hell am I supposed to do? And I get it. But you have to read through the rest of the pages, my friend. Go through the rest of those pages, find where they list the disabilities in further detail, and then you can look into why you were denied for these claims. Were they saying there's a lack of service connection? Were they saying there's a lack of a diagnosis? Were they saying that the symptoms that were described or the CMP exams don't qualify for a disability rating according to the schedule ratings? You need to understand these things, right? Because that'll help you track down what the error is. Do you need to go to a doctor and get a medication to prove that you have a diagnosis? Do you need to get a sleep study? Do you need to understand how to describe your symptoms better in the CMP exam? Did you have a bad CMP exam and you did the right thing, explained your stuff the right way and thoroughly, and the CMP examiner just shit the bed? So they're all big possibilities. The hardest one is if you lack service connection. And in that case, you typically need to lean on nexus letters and medical etiology. And I'm going to say this very loud and clear and proud. Nexus letters do not have to be written by a doctor. Nowhere in M21-1, nor in 38 CFR does it state that nexus letters have to come from a medical professional of any sort or a doctor. It does say that nexus letters hold more value if they come from trusted sources. Now, that being said, the VA trusts peer-reviewed medical journals far more than it does some doc in a box that some firm wants to farm you out to. And what can go on that nexus letter? Well, it can be a lot of things, right? You can do research. You can find peer-reviewed medical journals that link one of your disabilities to service or to an already service-connected disability, making it a secondary, right? You can also do things as common sense and simple as saying, hey, I was a tanker. I just use this as an example. I wasn't a tanker. I was a tanker. I had to jump on and off of a 7-foot vehicle like 13 times a day in combat boots. Yeah, my knees and my ankles are absolutely hosed, and my hips and my lower back, right? And then you could find a peer-reviewed medical journal and you can reference it and say, this medical journal shows that repeated impacts at even this frequency can heavily affect A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That is a nexus letter. You don't have to pay somebody for it. If you are going to pay somebody for it, don't let them send you to a doc in a box. Make sure that they're putting together the best research, peer-reviewed medical journals. That is what we're proud of doing here at VetClaims.AI, and it's why we're the fastest growing claim service firm in America. You can also do this yourself if you want to put in the time, the legal research, and the medical research to do so. Mind you, you do typically have to pay for access to medical journals anyway. Now, let's talk about what the strategic implications for you as a veteran are as your claim sits in stage 5. I need you to be watching e-benefits in your va.gov carefully. The status changes can be fast from 5 to 6 to 7, right? And that's pretty exciting. Those are some good mental health moves to see your claim move forward. Keep an eye on your e-benefits in your va.gov to catch these changes as they occur. And don't panic if it sits, right? Complex decisions stall out the most. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not an indicator that something's wrong. It's just they're doing the best that they can to work through your claim, and it may be more complex than even you understand. There might be complexities you haven't thought about within it. Veterans, every single day, thousands of people ask us, what do I do? My claim is in stage 5, stage 3, stage 2. Where is my claim? How do I know where my claim is? We understand that the VA dashboard doesn't give you the information that you want to access, so we built something that helps you with it. Check it out. Veterans, you need to check out the new TurboVets by VetClaims.AI Chrome extension. It's a plugin that you can get in the Google Chrome store, and it is free to use. What it does is it gives you the ability to see everything in your VA portal that you want to see, but actually in a way you can use it. And then some stuff you can't even see in the VA portal. For example, if we go down to our claims here, or disabilities, we can see if something is dynamic or if something is static. Now, if you want to view potentially the DBQs for things that need to be improved upon, increased, or you might have to just go through an appeal for, we pop up those DBQs for you and provide them right here, and you can actually see what the doctor or the C&P examiner is going to be looking at, what they're going to be asking you, and how it's evaluated. So you know the actual questions that are going to take place. This value and much, much more is all available to you for free from VetClaims.ai. All you have to do is go to the Google Chrome extension store and then type in VetClaims.ai or VetClaims, and the TurboVets by VetClaims.AI Google Chrome plugin will pop up and appear. You just download that, install it to Chrome, and then you log into your VA.gov account. All we ask is that if this tool provides value to you, share it with another vet. I want to say this. A lot of times veterans will ask me this golden question. What can I do to make this move faster? Can I call the 1-800 number? Can I yell at them? You can. I don't know that that helps, but you can initiate a congressional inquiry if you happen to have access to a congressman and think that'll move faster. Now, if you've been stuck in stage 5 for like 5 months, well, you know what? Maybe a congressional inquiry is a good move. Call your congressman, get a hold of him, say, hey, what the hell? But in general, that's probably not as advisable and not worth the time. The other thing that you can do is make a hardship request. If you're going through financial hardship, if you are at threat of or in danger of homelessness, or if you have a terminal illness, that can and will accelerate your claims to the highest degree. It's important to keep that in mind. What mistakes can you make at stage 5? Is it too late in the process to make mistakes? The answer is unfortunately no. You still very much can. So let's talk about what these mistakes could be. Thinking you can still add new evidence without further delaying the claim. That's mistake number 1, and we covered that pretty thoroughly. Not double checking the C&P exam for inaccuracies earlier. This is a double take, and this is, how are you going to get a hold of the C&P exam, right? You should be able to request it from the VA, but truth be told, that process, I would imagine your claim will be done long before the VA actually hands records over to you. Getting your C file can be a massive pain in the behind. So on one hand, yeah, you should be doing your best to stay on top of like what's coming out of the C&P exams, but on the other hand, getting a hold of that data is unfortunately something that the VA has not made very easy, even though it should be. Seems like transparency is not the best friend of these C&P contractors. In fact, we know it's not. That's a story for another YouTube video. The next thing is believing that stage 5 equals approval. Denials still happen here. Stage 5 isn't some sign of you winning. I don't want you to get false hope or set yourself up for disappointment. Stage 5 is the decision being made, regardless of whether it's a win or a loss, an approval or denial or a deferral. And the big thing is, I need you to prepare. Veterans can fail to prepare mentally and fail to prepare financially for this decision. Don't go spending your money like crazy because your claim's at step 5 and you think, well, I'm gonna get my VA money soon enough. The world works in funny ways, and you don't know when the VA is gonna make that decision. You don't know how long stages 5, 6, and 7 are gonna take. Things can get held up at approval. Things can get held up at stage 6 or stage 7. We've seen it. Why? VA is going to do VA things. So don't make those mistakes. So what can your outcomes look like after stage 5? What are the possible outcomes? Well, there's granted, which is your service connection and your rating. There's a partial grant, which means some conditions were approved, some were denied. And then there's deferred. That decision, which ultimately, like, deferral is one of the most questioned thing by veterans, because like, well, what does that mean? What do I have to do? Deferral just means that the decision has been postponed for further clarification or evidence being submitted. Oftentimes, if you get a claim that has been deferred, you should go to a doctor as quickly as possible for that claim and say, hey, like, this is what's going on. Get whatever medical record, get whatever prescription or proof that this is going on, and get that submitted to the VA. If you can get a buddy letter, if you can get whatever you can throw on to a deferral, this is the point where you should throw it on, not during the stage 5. And once again, the biggest thing is prepare mentally, prepare financially. Be smart, don't count your ducks before they hatch, and prepare mentally for the fact that, you know what, it might not go your way, but this decision letter is going to give you the keys to get closer step by step to getting the rating you deserve and setting yourself up for a better life and unlocking the benefits that you've earned. I know it's unfortunate that you as a veteran have to fight for this. It's something that you have earned, but truth be told, that's the way it works. It's the way the game is played, and thus, well, you've got resources at hand like VetClaims.AI who happen to be experts at playing the game and helping you navigate it. Well, veterans, I think now is about the time that I answer the question, why do veterans think that stage 5 is the ultimate breaking point or making point for their VA claim journey? And the answer is because it's the most anxiety-filled. As to why that is, I don't know. It could be the number 5, it could be the ambiguity, it could be the fact that they know someone is actively making a decision that can rapidly, greatly, significantly affect their future. And there's nothing you can do about it. And that kind of sucks, right? You've done your best, hopefully. You've put your best foot forward, and you hope that the outcome is positive. But I wanted to dispel the myth. This claim, like I said earlier, is just part of the journey to getting the rating you deserve, to getting the benefits you deserve. It isn't the making or breaking point of you or your claim journey. It is merely one more step in the process. And yes, unfortunately, it takes longer than I think it should, but that's the process. And thus we're going to play it. We're going to play it to the best of our ability. I hope I've taught you as much as you possibly wanted to know, and maybe even a little more about stage 5, what goes on in it, how to prepare yourself, and some claim strategy. If this video has added value to you, the only ask I have is you hit that hype button below, you hit the subscribe button down below over there, and you like and give us a comment on what you want to see next. Help us reach as many veterans as possible so we can educate, inform, and help veterans pursue the life that they deserve to live after service. Once again, my name is Luke Siminer, CEO and founder of VetClaims, and I can't thank you enough for supporting us, watching this video, your service, and just being a good American. Have a good night.